Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Julia Mann, and I show men and women how they can create healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And I'm so happy today because I'm joined by Jill Monson-Bishop. Hi, Jill.
You used my whole name. I love it. For business, I always just say Jill Munson, and my poor wife, she's the bishop part, and she's like, hello. Good morning.
So, well, here
Or afternoon or evening or
whatever time of day, it's so good to see you. And a lot of people obviously don't yet know you. So just want to
I don't know how. I mean, usually it's like, Oprah and then, Julie Mann and then Jill, right? I mean, that.
Love it. So for those people that don't yet know you, I just want to let everyone else know that you are a senior development manager at the American Cancer Society. But before we get into that, I'm just really curious, Jill, to know about your beginning. So tell us about your childhood. Did you grow up in a really healthy family?
No. Emotionally, sort of. Physically, not so much, and definitely not with health and nutrition. I was, so I'm in the States, and as many people that kind of compare some of the other cultures to American culture, we have an abundance issue here with food. My mom was a single mom for most of my young years, and when she was married, we didn't have a lot of resources, a lot of money. So food was, not always like plentiful, and my mom didn't cook. So I never gained those skills, but I learned like poor eating habits from eating out, not eating breakfast, those kinds of things. My mother was wonderful. She has since passed away, and she is still my hero to this day. But as I've gone through recent journeys and really explored, I realized that, she did the best with what she had. But if you don't know, you can't necessarily always do better. So yeah, it was an interesting childhood. We ate a lot of dessert, a lot of sweets. My grandfather worked for Nabisco company, so Oreos were my jam.
Yeah, we always used to have wait and see pudding, which was always ice cream. But anyway,
Yes, I
yes, I
love
mean,
that.
I was always brought up with having to eat what was on my plate
Hmm.
before I could get down from the table, and that was simply because my parents didn't have any money. But
But
going
that's
back,
such a like a common thing. And I will say that now as an adult who have struggled with weight my whole life, that is something that I've had to retrain my brain. So if there is a mom or a dad that's listening, I would just encourage you to remember that your influence on your children is like super important. And when you say you must eat everything on your plate, you're telling them that to ignore their own sense of self, their own sense of full. And that's a dangerous slope because I grew up never understanding full. So I would just eat and eat and eat almost to gluttony. And so I encourage people to like give them a little on their plate and allow them to get more. That way they can eat until they're full versus having to continue to eat to make you happy, to please, the parent. So
yeah, such a great point. So obviously, it sounds like life is pretty challenging in some ways. But
in
what
some
were
ways.
the kind of values would you say that your family instilled you with as you're
Oh
growing
my
up?
goodness, so many. And it's so ironic that we're having this conversation today, Julie, because I currently am working with a coach, a year-long program that I chose to do for myself to sort of just figure out and take my life to the next level. And so in doing that, we're buddied up, and I'm buddied up with this amazing woman, Megan. And just I'm going to shout out my coach because she's fabulous. Her name is Carol Williams. I will make sure I give you her tag or whatever, but she's great. And she does virtual. So if you're listening in like Australia, she could help you. But Megan and I were talking about values and sort of drilling it down. So we did this exercise together that she had experience with, and it was like a bank of words. And then you kind of like went through and you just kind of kept drilling down until you kind of came up with your core values. And so, and I definitely know that these come, I would say, from my mom, or as you would say, from my mom. So, I have 6 words that I landed on that I'm still working through because literally I just did this work. But one is integrity, genuine, purpose, gratitude, rooted. Rooted was very important for me, and the idea of being seen and seeing. So being seen myself and then seeing others. So those are sort of the values that I've taken from my childhood into my adult.
Love it. And I'm going to circle back to some of that
Yeah,
later on, but
please.
I've done that exercise myself a number of
Okay.
times, and it's so brilliant. Really, really brilliant. So were there things then that you learned, Jill, that you later realized just really didn't serve you?
I'm still learning this one. And it's funny. So my stepdad, who also has passed away, he's sort of, and I don't want to negate my birth father. He's back in my life, and we are working very hard at an amazing relationship now. In case he listens to this, I do love you very much. But my stepdad was my dad for my formative years. You know, the breakups with the boys and the bumps and the bruises and the crying. And he always had this saying, and he said it to my mom. And then as I aged, he said it to me. And so my mom had a belief that like you wanted to make everybody like you. And I really lived with that my whole life. And I still do in many ways, and I'm working on it. And my stepdad would say to my mom, Sue, not everybody's going to like you. And then as I got older and he lived with my wife and I, he would say, Jill, sorry, but not everybody's going to like you. And I would just get mad because I was like, well, hello, I'm fabulous. Like everybody. But you know, you and I have talked, Julie, and it's such a European thing to say, but like, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Right. But so I found that didn't serve me. My mom thought she was doing that lesson right, like to make yourself likable, but there's a reality that you can only be you. So I guess that's kind of the lesson I'm still learning.
Oh my goodness, me too. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Jill, because I think that probably most of the planet are trying to fit in and trying to be liked, and yeah, and actually you can't really ever live a life where you feel free and totally happy with who you are if you're trying to please other people. We know
And it
that,
makes,
but yeah, it
yeah, and
takes
it makes me, yeah, sad for, you know, the girls behind us, Julie. Like, I feel like we're responsible to take, I don't have children of my own, Jen and I decided not to, but like when I look at children in general, but particularly girls and young girls, and I mean, it goes without saying that the world is completely different. I mean, we're a different age group, we're a different, you know, era where we didn't have the zooming and but we didn't have this social media, and they talk about it like it's this like big wow, like, oh yeah, Instagram has influenced the way young girls think about themselves. Really? Like we needed a scientist to tell us that? I could have told you that. You know, when you can never escape perception of like, but I just, that seeing and seeing that I talked about, like I'm trying to come up with for each of my words a visual, like an icon. And for that one I have, and it's very much a pair of glasses. And it's because I believe that there is always, I don't think that there is ever not um, a perception. So if you see a picture on Instagram and that person has everything that you desire, there is still something going on in their world that you don't know about. And so it's like, I struggle with that a lot, that like we all want to be so liked and live this, you know, fit in lifestyle, but what is the fit in lifestyle? Because everybody's got their stuff, you know, so.
absolutely, we're just human at the end of the day, aren't we? And we're doing our best, like you said before, with the resources that we've got, aren't we?
Human.
Yeah. Now I know, Jill, that you've had really an amazing career and you've done so many different things, so perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your
Sure.
your life's experience, and also, you know, how you ended up working in the job that you love with the Cancer Society.
Yeah. So yeah, when people hear my career, they're like, whoa. And then they go, oh, it makes sense though. So I skipped my senior year of high school. And in order to do that, you had to go to a community college because you had to kind of overlap the credits. So I knew right in that portion of my life at 17 years old, like what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to get into radio. My grandfather, his name is Paul Monson. He was a famous radio announcer in our area in Massachusetts for years back in the day, and people knew him. And so I think I always aspired for that. And so I did. I got into radio, and I had a very good run. I did every shift you could do, including a morning show. I got into marketing, into sales, and all of that. And my career was going along. I was moving around. I didn't really move too far from the nest because my mom and my brother were my core, and then my stepdad had come in, and we were just very close family. And my mom had been sick off and on, so I didn't go too far, but I moved around. And where my radio career kind of quote ended was when I was 28 years old. I was I was 27. I signed up and I did a morning show. And I didn't know if I'd like morning radio because I'm not exactly a morning girl. So I only signed a 1-year contract. My host, the way radio works for the most part is they pair you up. You're not, it sounds like you've been, forever, but they pair you up. So I got paired up with this gentleman, and he had a longer contract than me, which whatever, I chose the 1 year. I ended up loving it. I ended up being very good at it. And I ended up getting fired. I got fired at 28 years old, 1 month before my contract was over, because he was from the deep South and he had differing values than me, and he refused to work with me. So they let me go because my contract was shorter. So now I'm 28 years old. I have no college degree because I never finished. I dropped out to do radio. And in my mind, I was a radio DJ. So I had no idea what to do. So I always tell people I let myself feel sorry for one day with my boyfriends, Ben and Jerry. And then the next day I said, okay, what's next? And I went back to college, and I sort of, for the next 2 years, I created at the state college, I created sort of like a communications program because I'd done so many of the classes like in real life. But in those 2 years, from 28 to 30, I went to school, got my degree, but I also worked around the clock, like silly jobs, babysitting, waitressing, whatever. And I'm working. So when I turned 30, I now had $10,000 saved. So I bought my first home as a single woman and graduated. But now I'm like, okay, I've got this bachelor's degree in communications, but what's now? And I wasn't going back to radio. So this is where I'll make it really quick. My brother suggested sales. I thought sales was the enemy. He sold radio. I didn't want to sell against him because we were super close. Ended up doing some retail management, hated that. Got into sales, but I sold coupon advertising. And in selling the coupons, I was really, really good at it. I was making a ton of money, way more than radio, but I wasn't fulfilled. And in 2009, my mom passed away. And I had my aha. I like to say I've had 3 ahas. My aha, where I said, okay, what do I want to be known for? It was not 50% off pizza or dry cleaning. So I went in and I resigned. My boss was like, what? And I went to work for a client of mine who owned a home improvement company. But I told him, I said, listen, I want to work for you for a year doing your marketing, but I want to start my own company. And he said, more power to you. So I did that. And while I was working for him, I started a company called Inspired Marketing, inspired after my mom. And I did that. And it was a full service advertising agency and event planning. And I did it for the better part of 10 years or so. And I didn't have a business degree. I did since get my MBA, but my business grew and like exploded, and it was amazing. And I'm so blessed. And I know that. So I inherited, I bought another company. I had 10 employees, downtown office space. It was going, but I wasn't fulfilled, and I was extremely unhealthy. I was in and out of the hospital. They kept thinking heart attack, never heart attack, but panic attacks. And I made the hard choice, and I downsized the whole company. I laid everyone off. I sold everything. I kept the brand so I can still consult. And then a couple months later was like, oh, shoot, I need some money. So I went to work for another client that I'd had, which was the MGM family. They were opening a new casino hotel property in my hometown, home city. And I helped open the property, and it was really wonderful. I did internal communications and events. So I was all things employees, which was wonderful. I found out that billion-dollar companies don't have it figured out any better than little companies. Everybody's messed up, which was very, very enlightening. And then the end of 2018, my stepdad passed away. And that was my second aha moment of my 3. And I said, okay, hospitality, gambling, it's just not my jam. And I started looking, and both my mom and stepdad passed from cancer, along with a lot of other beautiful people I love. And I found this opportunity at the American Cancer Society. And to me, it was like, sort of the culmination of it all coming together. And now I do this, and I love it.
Wow.
So.
I mean, it's clear why you were so good at radio. I mean, that's obvious.
Because I don't shut up.
But you have such an amazing voice and just a fantastic way of being, but also it's all about your energy, isn't it? And I love that, it must have been a bit of a shock being sacked from that, from that career in radio.
Oh, yeah.
But you didn't, although you did acknowledge it and you felt the feelings of it, you were then right back on the horse, and you were out there, and you're like, now what? And I really think that absolutely takes courage, and, that really takes, bounce back ability. So how fabulous.
I love that. I literally, were you in my head yesterday? That is the word. So I created my my essence with my coach, and we had to come up with, like, not had to, but I came up with a word. So I have determined it's Jill of resilience. And it's because resilience encompasses courage, but I made this symbol and I put all the words that I think it means. And one of them was bounce back ability. And she said, is that even a word? And you just said it.
Yes. Yes.
Fate.
What about gazillions?
Gazillions. I like that.
If I can't even say it. Anyway, so you mentioned a couple of challenges with your own physical health. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that. I think also, I know that you and I talked personally, and that affected your mental health as well. So can you tell us something about that?
1,000%. Yeah, I love sharing this. And it's something I want people that are watching to know. It's something that I didn't share easily. Like, it took a long time for me to feel comfortable, but now I feel it's important, because again, I'm hopeful that someone is listening, watching, that has their aha moment. But I also, before I share, I just want people to know that my story is my story, and what they do to get healthy and well is their story and their journey. There is no one prescription. I'm not advocating for any one solution. And I do that because so many people push their thing, and really it's find your thing and then live it. So for me, I've always been overweight. As I mentioned, ice cream, cookies, all that was our thing. And we ate poorly, lots of carbohydrates, and I've literally done it all. If you can imagine it, I have done it. Like, every diet, every system. I mean, I had, and I'm very good at manipulating things. So there's a certain program, won't name names, but it has a point system. Well, I knew that I could have, a bowl of ice cream, and that was my points for the day. It wasn't nutritionally good, but that I would have my bowl of ice cream. So, I did the hypnotist, I've done everything, and I've been up and I've been down and up and down and up and down. Well, I was tired. I was really getting tired of the roller coaster. And we're talking, not like I got my weight from my doctor all the way back to 2000, and I think it was 2010, and I had never been below 200 pounds ever. So I had come like to 205, but then I was as high as 331. That was where I lived, and I'm 5'5", so I'm not like a super tall person. And I was really unhealthy. Didn't exercise, didn't sleep well, certainly didn't eat well, drank a lot of caffeine, which I still do. So at the beginning of, before the global pandemic, so at the beginning of 2020, right? That's when it happened, 2019.
It seems so long ago, I can't remember.
Oh my God. The beginning of 2019, that's when it was. I was doing a side hustle. I was out delivering food. My wife and I were saving for a beach house. She was teaching a class. It was in the evening. And I came out of a restaurant. I was 316 pounds. I came out of a restaurant, and I didn't realize that there was a step down. And I had my back to the door. I was saying goodbye, and I turned. And as I turned, I thought I was just stepping level, and I went down. And so when I went down, I knew I did something. I had broken my ankle twice in the past, so I thought I just broke it again. I did deliver the food and drop off the friend that I had before taking care of myself, because I've learned to take care of myself first, put my oxygen mask on first, right? But I ended up finding out that I had torn my Achilles tendon. And if anybody watching has ever torn it, it is excruciating pain, and they can relate. And if you haven't, please, please, please never do it. 2 days later, on my birthday, I was in surgery, had surgery. It's a very long recovery. I was recovering. I was doing my physical therapy. This was now COVID. It was the beginning, or COVID here in the States. It was in May. And COVID was rampant in our area. And so I got a call from my surgeon's office. I was supposed to have a routine appointment with a PA. And they said, the PA is off, and can you push it off a week? And I said, I'm overweight. I've been doing the physical therapy. I really should meet somebody and just make sure I'm good. And they said, okay, Friday at 4:30, come meet Mr. So-and-so. Okay. So I went, and I will be honest, I'm thinking 4:30 on a Friday. This guy's going to want to get golfing, right? So he comes in, and I've never met him before, and he goes, I think you have a blood clot. And I was like, I don't have a blood clot. Like, they do this, like, every time I've broken my ankle, they've sent me off to get checked for blood clots, especially when you're overweight. And I'm like, I don't have a blood clot. And he goes, I think you do. And I said, well, I'm not going to the hospital to get it checked, because the hospital COVID. And he said, no, you are. And I said, no, I'm not. And so we went back and forth, and finally he was like, please go to the hospital. I said, fine. So I go to the hospital to get it checked. And the woman who's doing the ultrasound is literally like, they send everybody here for blood clots, order your takeout, I'll be right back. She goes off and I'm on the phone with Jen, my wife, ordering literally like what I want for dinner. And the woman walks back in, and she is as white as a ghost. Like, I've never seen that shade before. And I said to Jen, please tell me you're not choking, Julie, because I will jump across the ocean and save you. Okay. So I said to Jen, I'll call you back. And I hung up the phone, and the woman said, you have a clot. And I said, okay. And she said, it's the biggest clot we've ever seen. It goes from your femoral artery to your ankle, which is literally the entire length of your leg. And I was like, that's not good. And she said, you're going to the emergency room. And I said, no, I'm not. Again, COVID. She said, no, you're going to the emergency room. Now, my wife was in EMS. And so I knew blood clot, stroke, death. Like, that was what I equated a blood clot. So now I have to go to the emergency room. When I get to the emergency room, it is the eeriest place I've ever been, because we are in the height of COVID, and it's like very quiet, and everybody's in these ET costumes and, Luke, I am your father. And it was just, and they're shoving stuff up my nose. So Jen couldn't come be with me. So I called her on FaceTime and I said, here's where I keep the key to my safe for my business. Here's where I put our personal paperwork, our wills and such. And please stay in touch with my brother. Make sure I got the goosebumps. This was my third aha, because I didn't think I was coming home. And then they said, we're going to admit you. And I was like, okay, this is not normal, because usually they just give you a blood thinner and send you home. So now I'm definitely worried. They admit me. The next day they did a full body scan, which they normally, again, don't do. And the clot was in both lungs. They described it as a butterfly. They said it had settled here and was branching out into both lungs dramatically, to the point where the nurse asked me, did you have trouble breathing? And I said, well, I'm huge, and I'm trying to crawl. I live in a big house. I'm trying to get around with a bad, leg. And she said, no, sweetie. She said, you were drowning in this clot. She said, if you hadn't come in, you probably wouldn't have made it till next week. Third aha, like smack you upside the head. So it wasn't weight related. It was circumstantial. It was a provoked clot from the surgery, but it was my okay. And so after that, Jen got very honest with me, and she said, listen, I love you and I think you're beautiful and I'll love you any size you are, but I'm scared. This scared me. I don't want to lose you. And June 1st of 2019, I started a wellness program. No doctor, I wanted to do weight loss surgery, but no doctor would talk to me because I was so unstable with all the clots. So I did weight loss. And finally in September of this is 2020. I don't know. Yeah, 2020, September, I was able to get weight loss surgery. And so I did that, and I've healed up, and it is not an easy road. I had lost like 160 pounds, 100 and something pounds. But I gained over the last couple of months, I had gained 28 pounds back, because those things you talked about are still here. I am back on my horse, proverbial and literally. I rode a horse for the first time in my life because I was thin enough to do it. So it's pretty exciting, but I'm exercising and eating healthy again, and I'm on track, but it's been a huge journey. And I have an addiction, specifically, I think, to sugar, and I'm going to struggle with that forever. I think the same way maybe an alcoholic. I've never been addicted to alcohol or a drug, but I assume it's similar to that. And but I'm really proud that I'm finding my way through it.
Yeah.
That was long. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. and you look extraordinary, Jill. I mean, looking at you now, whoever would know that you had that experience, but
Thank you.
Wow, what a wake up call.
And I hope to not have a fourth aha moment is what I tell people. Like, I'm done. I've had enough. But it was doing the work I do with the American Cancer Society, my friend said, we were talking the other day separate, and he said something about cancer avoidance. And I think it's avoidance of all of it, right? Whether it's diabetes, heart disease, so many things, cancer. They're so intertwined with our health. I'm going to a dentist today, finally, because with COVID, I hadn't gone, and dental health plays into your overall well-being, and mental health. I am so blessed. I have an extraordinary therapist. I work with her. In the States, we've opened up our ability to have telehealth for mental health, which has been tremendous. And she's a blessing. We've gone back. We've explored things from my childhood. We've explored, the need to please. We've explored where my body issues, what part of my life, what age group, where things started to play in, where I went from chubby fun Jill to like self-conscious, obsessed with food Jill. And but mental health is so much a part of this, so much. So
totally. And I can absolutely relate, even though I didn't become obese, I certainly had a period of being bulimic and doing every diet you could imagine. But the thing for me was that being bulimic, I kind of looked normal, so no one would really know. But it's
normal, right?
Exactly, whatever normal is. Who Anyway, yeah, I'd really love.
Thank you for sharing that, Julie. It's hard for women to share about any kind of eating struggle, and I if people are listening, men or women, because I do believe that eating disorders affect both, it doesn't have to. A lot of times there is this stigma that it has to be a diagnosed like bulimia or anorexia. And overeating, overindulgence is as much, I think, a problem as the undereating and the purging. And so I just my first thing is please find somebody. There is somebody you can talk to, somebody, be a professional or a friend. There's somebody that loves you just the way you are. They're not going to tell you to lose weight. They're not going to tell you how to lose weight, but they're going to tell you that they love you. But talk to somebody, because once you can unburden that, like right there, you shed pounds, maybe not physical pounds, but you shed weight. So.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that. Tell us something about cancer that we may not know.
Oh boy. 1 in 3 people will be diagnosed with cancer. And I hate that. That's why I work as hard as I do. I think many people don't know that the American Cancer Society has so many resources available in their communities. Our website, I mean, the nice part is no matter where you live in this globe, you can go on, hopefully, God willing, the internet. I know there's some parts of our world that still can't, but cancer.org, I implore people. The internet is a blessing and a curse. There's a lot of misinformation out, not just about cancer, but about everything. And what I love about cancer.org is, if you read it there, it is fact-based. It is scientific driven. We have our first female CEO ever in 107 years of our organization, Dr. Knudsen. She's amazing. She's a scientist. And we work really hard to make sure that we have that factual information. But it's super important. I don't know as much in other countries as I do in the United States, but I will say that one thing that I advocate highly for is, if you're a parent of a child, boy or girl, and they're young, please get the information about the HPV vaccine. The HPV vaccine is a preventative measure that children can get a vaccine for in the ages of, I think it's 9 to 11. Don't quote me on that, but it's boys and girls. And it's really important because it helps prevent 6 kinds of cancers. So it's the first preventative cancer measure besides health and wellness. So I implore parents. And now from what I understand, the regulations have extended. So you go into your young adult years, but read about it. Just go to the website, search HPV, and everything will pop up. You can read the stuff.
You can send me that link, Jill.
I will.
I'll post everything for anyone who's watching. Yep. I'll post all Jill's links below this video. So please just check them out. So you talked about your values and looking at that earlier on, and I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and I love that you said that you have a reputation for being genuine, loyal, and having a zest for life. And I think when I first met you, Jill, which was at an online networking thing, that was the thing that struck me. And I so wanted to talk to you because, your energy absolutely shone through. So I was really keen for us to make that connection. How important is it for you to live up to that reputation? And what habits do you have to enable that to happen?
Wow, you asked the hard questions. So I would say that if you asked me that a month or 2 ago, I would have said oh, it's so important. And I've changed. I'm working with Carol and my friends through this coaching, and it's important that I live every day with a zest for life because I'm blessed to have life. My mom was 55 when she passed away. So I know it sounds corny and I'm not perfect at it, but every day I'm grateful like that I'm here, because the alternative on the other side of the dirt, not as hot. Um, so with that being said, I just live for me now. Well, for me and my wife, for me and my, my family, my nephews and my brother. I don't, I don't live as much for others, or I'm getting there. And so the zest for life and that genuineness that I put out is because that's who I want to be. And if others accept it in and love it, then great. And if they don't, then that's okay too. And if they think I'm not genuine, that's okay too. Like, so I'm getting there. So I hope that helps. And what I do, I'm still working through it. I have severe ADHD, diagnosed as an adult, which makes a lot of sense when I look back at some of my report cards as a kid. But I have, Carol has worked with me, and I'm trying to start to set up some routines, what I call some habit forming. So for instance, now in the mornings, I have been getting up, I make some coffee, I let my dogs out, I give my dog his eye drops, and I read. And I have what we call, and I won't cuss on your show, but I have 30 minutes of give
You
no
can
F.
cuss. You want to cuss?
No, maybe somebody's watching with a young lady and we don't want cussing, but I give it my 30 minutes of give no F time. And it's my time. I don't feel guilty for it. And I can do whatever I want, but I choose to read. And I've chosen to read fiction because I'm tired of reading self-help books and business books. So I'm reading fiction and I'm loving it. And it's 30 minutes for just me. And so that's kind of what I have implemented so far to keep that zest going, to keep that fire burning.
So that is a habit in itself. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. So apart from walking your dogs, giving your dog eye drops, apart from reading, apart from having that you time, what else do you do when you're not working? Because I know you love working.
I do love working. And that's been something, it's very interesting. I took my first ever 2-week vacation recently with Jen. We went to a beach. She's a beach girl. She grew up on the West Coast in Los Angeles area. And I'm not a beach girl. So I was like, oh God, 2 weeks of vacation, I'm going to flip. And it wasn't. I really have learned the pandemic for me. And I will say, I know that COVID and the global pandemic was horrible. I mean, we've lost so much. I can't change that. So all I can do is look for little beams of light in it. And for me, a little beam of light is I learned how to slow down. And how to value things that I never valued before. I was go all the time, and going and doing things I didn't want to go and do, but just because I felt I had to. I am now going and doing the things I want to do. And so this 2-week vacation for me really slowed me down. So I love work, but I am trying to find balance. My Jen has been working for a company delivering holiday packages and things. She's working for FedEx, and she works a bazillion hours right now, which for me is very different. I have never had I've always been the person in the relationship that did that. So there's been this role reversal. So what I have found I've been doing is domestic stuff, not cooking. I heat up food. We found a very good chef who I'm not bougie, I'm not rich, but she does some very realistically priced meals, but we heat those up, they're healthy. But I've been doing things around my home. I have a historic home. So I've been, waxing the floors. I do some puzzles. I like puzzles, although I'm stuck on a puzzle right now and aggravated, but I've been working out, which is making time for me. I've been running, which Jill's not a runner, but I've been running. I've been doing 4 miles a day, not all running. Yesterday I did 2.5 miles running. But yeah, so just trying to find place and space, and then making time for my wife. Last night she came home. She got home a little bit early. We had dinner and we laid on the couch and we snuggled and we watched a movie and we went to bed early, and it was just amazing. So
wonderful. Sounds completely gorgeous. I've got one final question. When you're no longer on this planet, Jill, how would you like to be remembered?
So ironic. So when I sat in 2009, June 2nd, at my mother's graveside and watched all the people standing around crying, that was my moment when I said, what do I want to be known for? I don't want to skirt your question, but I don't have that answer yet. I do know the things I don't want to be known for, and I've worked hard. Like I made the comical joke about being, known for 50% off pizza. I want to be known for something. I'm not exactly sure yet what that is, but I do know that I have a purpose. And I'm hopeful that when I'm gone, hopefully it will be a long time, but if it happens to be sooner than I'd like, I'm hopeful that that purpose will be there, that people will know what it is, because I don't know yet, but I'm working on it.
Great answer. It's been such an absolute joy talking to you.
Whew, this was like, usually it's more about back stuff business. And this got really deep, and I'm very honored, Julie. I feel I chose this shirt specifically for you, because I wanted you to know that I feel blessed. I'm doing gratitude work, and I feel very blessed and grateful that you came into my life. I think nothing happens by chance, and you were there, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you.
Me too, right back at you. So all there is for me to say is, Jill Monson-Bishop, thank you ever so much for talking to us.
Thank you.